So if you've ever had a cold outreach campaign just totally fall flat, I can almost guarantee this is the reason why. We're going to talk about the single most important piece of the puzzle, your ideal customer profile, or ICP. If you get this part wrong, nothing else you do really matters. But if you nail it, well, everything that comes after gets a whole lot easier.
I mean, think about it, right? If you don't know exactly who you're talking to, how in the world are you supposed to say the right thing? It's impossible. Skipping this step is honestly why most outreach just doesn't work. But getting it right from the start, that's how you get higher response rates, more conversions, and a system that actually brings in results.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll lay down the foundational concept. Then we'll dig into why it's so important. After that, we'll actually build one, step by step. Then we'll look at the common mistakes to avoid, and we'll wrap up with how to test, refine, and really scale your efforts.
Okay, so first things first, what are we actually talking about here? I want you to think of your ICP as the GPS for your entire outreach strategy. Seriously, without it, you're just driving completely blind, hoping you end up somewhere good.
And that word precise is super important here. An ICP isn't some vague guess. It's a laser-focused, crystal-clear description of the company that gets the absolute most value from what you offer. And that precision, that's the difference between sending a message that feels relevant and helpful and just sending another piece of spam. So why bother with all this detail? What's the real payoff for doing all this work up front? Let's break down exactly what's in it for you. And here's the cool part. These benefits all build on each other, kind of like a domino effect. When you focus your efforts, your email deliverability naturally gets better, and when you have better deliverability and a message that really resonates, well, of course you get higher response rates. And that is what creates a proven, repeatable formula that you can scale with confidence. All right, let's get our hands dirty and talk about the practical side of this. How do you actually sit down and build one of these things? Well, we're going to use a really simple 5-part blueprint. These are the 5 pillars of a really strong ICP. We'll start with the company basics. Then we'll zoom in on the right people inside that company. From there, we'll figure out their biggest problems, find the perfect time to reach out, and finally, make sure our theory actually works in the real world. First up, firmographics. This is just the basic info about the company itself. Are you going after SaaS companies in the US that have between 50 and 200 employees? Or maybe it's financial services firms in Southeast Asia. The more specific you can get right here, the easier all the other steps are going to be. Okay, next question. Who inside that company do you actually need to talk to? You've got to pinpoint the job titles that make the buying decisions, like a CEO or a head of HR. But hey, don't forget about the influencers. This could be someone like an ops lead who might not sign the check but can be a powerful champion for your solution internally. Now, this is probably the most crucial connection you need to make. You have to be able to look at their real-world challenges, things like scaling sales or keeping customers from leaving, and draw a perfectly straight line directly to your solution. If you can't connect those dots clearly, trust me, they won't be able to either. And here's a real game changer. It's not just about who you contact, it's about when. You have to look for what we call trigger events. These are signals that a company is ready for a change. A new round of funding, a big hiring spree, a major product launch, these are your windows of opportunity. Reaching out right then makes your message incredibly timely and relevant. Okay, so we've got the blueprint down. Now, let's talk about the common mistakes, the traps that can completely derail all your hard work, even if you think you've done everything right so far. This right here, this is the #1 mistake I see people make, being way, way too broad. SMEs in Malaysia doesn't tell you anything useful. What industry are they in? How big are they? What problems are they facing? You have to narrow it down. Remember, an ICP is all about precision. It's not about casting the widest net you possibly can. And you've got to watch out for these other common traps too. First, assuming you know their problems instead of actually researching them. Second, ignoring timing. Even the perfect prospect isn't going to buy if it's the wrong time for them. And finally, treating your ICP like some document you create once and then forget about. It has to evolve because your market definitely will. So, you've built your ICP, you know what traps to avoid. Now what? Well, now it's time to put it to the test. It's time to turn this theory into a real engine for growth. The key here is to approach this like a scientist running an experiment. Start with a small test batch of leads that perfectly fit your ICP. Launch your campaign and then track everything. Your opens, your replies, your conversions, all of this is real-world feedback, and it's pure gold you can use to constantly tweak and improve your profile. And that's exactly why we call the ICP a living document. It's not supposed to be set in stone. As you get more data from your campaigns and as the market itself shifts, your ICP has to shift right along with it to stay effective. And really, that's the big takeaway here. Taking the time upfront to properly define and then refine your ideal customer profile, it's the ultimate leverage point. It makes everything else, finding leads, writing great copy, running successful campaigns, so much easier.
So we'll leave you with this one final thought. You now have the blueprint to create a laser-focused profile. Your perfect customer is definitely out there, they're waiting. The only question left is, who are you going to reach out to first?